In a serious turn of events this afternoon and now going into this evening, Damian, Barrett, North Melbourne and Tarryn Thomas have been drenched in more controversy. What can you tell us?
Yeah, that he has effectively and indefinitely been stood down from the football club again for the second time this year, and about a fortnight or 3 weeks after he was allowed back after being stood down initially for the allegations relating to behaviour around certain behavioural matters. And this is the most recent statement that the club will cooperate fully in relation to any further allegation or investigation. He's not going to be attending Thursday while the club gathers more information. The landscape has changed on this, Sam. There's an element of North Melbourne now pondering, did they do the right thing by allowing him back? And it must be said that even as far as I can tell tonight, Thomas and people around him and people at North Melbourne don't exactly know the nature of these latest allegations. Do they relate to a period of time after he's been allowed back at the club, or are they continuing from the time in question before he was stood down the first time? He himself does not know the answers to those questions at this stage.
So there's a lot in this, Jimmy and Lloydie, but from a player's perspective, and Lloydie, you've now been in the media for quite some time, what are the optics of this? Have North Melbourne shot themselves in the foot by originally bringing him back to the club, knowing the seriousness of the initial allegations?
Well, I think to see them stand him down so quickly today just makes me wonder, that is this the final straw for Tarryn Thomas? And also just...
His career feels like it's at the crossroads right now, doesn't it?
I think it's line ball, Sam, tonight. I really do. And again, even what we did glean late today after this developed, Lordo, that the preparation for playing again wasn't quite up to the standards the club would have hoped. And that's my take on what I'm hearing today. And even the rehab and the education that he's getting, even elements of that. Now, they're just elements of it, and it's a reflection upon what's happened today. But there was just some issues there, even I think that I have got the leadership group questioning their own decisions and their support of him to this point.
Yeah, just on that, they're a new young leadership group in Jai Simpkin and Luke McDonald. And what I find, and I've been through this before at AFL clubs, and you would have too, Jim, just the drain that one player can have on a team. So often you find that all your resources and all your energies are going towards a player who's probably the least professional at your football club. And often, and he's a big... The other thing about this isn't a $300,000 or $400,000 player. This is one of our most highly paid players who hasn't performed in a long time. He was well off his game last year. You could see something wasn't right with the way he was. Obviously, he had some family concerns too. But yeah, I just think the drain that he's becoming a major distraction. And I think stepping him down, I'd send him back to the VFL permanently and just to stay. I'm talking not even train with the AFL. I'd say go and train with Tom Lynch, who's the North Melbourne coach. Get a job, get a full-time job, work from 8 a.m. till 5:30. And then you start your training at 5:30 till 7:30.
I feel like we're past that, aren't we?
With Michael Walters. No, but I'm saying they've got how many years? They've got 3 years.
Well, I think there's 1 year to remain of the current deal, Lordo.
So can you just...
Jimmy, you've been in leadership groups. Yep. How are you dealing with this?
Can you sack him, Jim? Can you sack a player?
You need to know all the information first and foremost, and at the moment we only probably know surface level, so they can have a lot deeper conversations regarding it. But if the alleged behaviour is to be anywhere near true, it is completely disrespectful to women, and it's an abhorrent behaviour, and that needs to be dealt with first. And whoever the person is involved, they need the care first and foremost, then Tarryn Thomas. That's if the alleged behaviour is true. So we need to get the order right. Now, being around a leadership group, you deal with it from a player point of view once you have the information in front of you. Now, we've got to understand who's actually around him, who's his camp, if you will. You know, every player has a camp. We'd all have people in our life that we lean on. Who's advising him, like at this point? Yeah, and then football is this far away. It's so far away at the moment, but you've got to actually establish what's going on first.
North Melbourne, to Damo's original point, they brought him back in. They said the best place for him was within the four walls of Arden Street. It wasn't all what Todd Viney, their new head of football, highly experienced football person, said in a media conference when that happened.
We just don't think it's the right thing to be out of the program. We think the best way of controlling and helping Tarryn change his behaviour is to be within our four walls. Tarryn has apologised to the leaders and the playing group around that. Because it's not what we want to be here standing in front of mics. Let's talk about when we've won 4 in a row. So he understands there's work to be done.
What happens if another mistake is to happen?
Well, in this environment, you sort of behave yourself into AFL program and you behave yourself out of the AFL program. So, in simple terms, continue to display the wrong habits, and then you find a way out of the industry.
So that was Todd Viney, Damo, the best part of a month ago. This is this evening from Tarryn Thomas's officially verified Instagram account. I think you've gleaned, Damo, that he's in fact not on the Gold Coast, as the caption would say, or the location.
Again, that's been dropped as of 5 minutes ago, Sam, and as best we can tell, and we've had this verified by multiple people now, that he's not on the Gold Coast, despite that tag saying that he was.
Okay, so what does this mean for North more broadly? Like, what does this situation mean for the female staff members working at North?
I think it's a valid question, Sam, and again, only they can answer that, and only the club can ask those people that question. What we do know, we'll hear from Alistair Clarkson not tomorrow as initially planned by way of his weekly media conference. It's now going to be Friday, and there's a commitment as we speak tonight for Alistair to be asked the questions and for him to answer as openly as he can. Now, whether that is able to happen, who knows? But it's going to be Friday at the earliest that we know from the coach's perspective what he knows about this latest situation.
So, look, I get the whole, that's a different generation, social media, and we don't understand it the way that generation does. But whoever, go back to my point, whoever's advising him needs to be on the phone, because it's incredibly tone deaf. Now, he might mean something else.
The Instagram post?
The Instagram post, but the caption in particular. Look, I know...
Are you still thinking about me?
Yeah, I know a lot of athletes love to look to the US, and it's a big thing at the moment, being cryptic in your Instagram posts or your Twitter posts and things like that. You open yourself up for all these questions. So whoever's giving him the advice, it'd be just tone it down, mate. Read the room. It's just absolutely not reading the temperature.
It might be too late for this, but if you're his manager, Ben Williams, I'd get Harley Bennell on the phone to him, who's at Port Melbourne trying to see if, no one will, but will someone give him another chance to ever play AFL football, which he blew.
It's a good point,
And at 23 years of age, he'll realise in a few years' time just how much he has wasted amazing talent in an AFL career.